Happiness is often misunderstood as something we need to acquire, something that exists outside of ourselves in the form of achievements, possessions, or recognition. People chase after wealth, fame, and material comforts, believing that once they attain these, happiness will naturally follow. Yet countless examples show that even those who have immense riches or widespread admiration often confess to feeling unfulfilled or empty inside. This reveals an important truth. Happiness is not something external, it is an inner state of being. It comes from within, from how we perceive life, how we process experiences, and how we choose to respond to circumstances. When we anchor happiness to things outside ourselves, we place our well-being in the hands of factors we cannot fully control. Money can be lost, recognition can fade, possessions can break, and people can leave. But the state of peace and joy within us can remain steady if we nurture it. This inner happiness is like a flame that continues to burn even when the winds of life blow hard, a light that no outside darkness can extinguish. The search for happiness must therefore begin by turning inward. It requires us to pause and listen to ourselves, to recognize that joy does not depend on perfect conditions, but rather on acceptance of the present moment. A person who finds beauty in small things like the warmth of the sun, a kind word, or a smile, carries happiness within them regardless of external situations. On the other hand, someone who constantly looks for happiness in bigger accomplishments, or in comparisons with others, may never feel satisfied, because the outer world is ever changing. By realizing that happiness is an internal resource, we free ourselves from the endless cycle of wanting and chasing. We no longer make our joy conditional upon if only, or when I achieve this, but allow it to arise naturally in the here and now. Inner happiness also grows stronger with self-awareness and self-acceptance. When we stop fighting ourselves, stop criticizing our flaws excessively, and begin to embrace who we are, we discover a quiet peace that leads to genuine joy. This acceptance does not mean complacency or lack of ambition, but it means knowing that our worth and our right to be happy do not depend on external validation. Happiness then becomes less fragile, less dependent, and more enduring. It is not that external things have no role. Achievements, relationships, and comforts can certainly enhance our life. But the foundation of true happiness must always be internal, because only then can it survive the inevitable ups and downs. The moment we grasp this truth, we stop searching for happiness like a lost object and start creating it from within ourselves through gratitude, presence, and acceptance. Gratitude is one of the most powerful keys to unlocking true happiness, yet it is often overlooked in the pursuit of bigger goals and material desires. Many people spend their lives focused on what they lack, constantly measuring themselves against what they do not yet have or what others seem to possess. This mindset creates a cycle of dissatisfaction and longing, making happiness feel distant and unattainable. Gratitude, however, shifts the focus from scarcity to abundance. It allows us to see the blessings already present in our lives and transforms even the simplest experiences into sources of joy. When we pause to appreciate a meal, the comfort of a safe home, the presence of loved ones, or even the gift of a new day, we realize that happiness is not reserved for extraordinary moments, but is woven into the fabric of everyday life. Practicing gratitude changes how we view the world. Instead of focusing on what is missing, our minds begin to notice what is already there. Science has even shown that gratitude rewires the brain to release positive emotions, reduce stress, and create a deeper sense of well-being. For example, keeping a gratitude journal or simply reflecting each day on things we are thankful for can slowly train the mind to shift from complaining to appreciating. This shift is subtle but life-changing, because when we dwell on problems, our energy sinks. But when we focus on gratitude, our perspective broadens, and we see possibilities and beauty where before we only saw lack. Gratitude is like a lens that sharpens our vision, helping us to notice the little sparks of happiness hidden in ordinary moments. Gratitude also deepens our relationships and strengthens connections with others. When we express appreciation to people who support, love, or even inspire us, we not only uplift them but also reinforce our own joy. Saying a simple thank you to a friend, a colleague, or a family member creates a cycle of positivity that multiplies happiness for both giver and receiver. Gratitude encourages humility as well, reminding us that many of the good things in life come through the kindness, effort, or presence of others. This recognition fills us with a sense of belonging and interconnectedness, which is another foundation of true happiness. What makes gratitude especially powerful is that it is not dependent on ideal conditions. Even in times of hardship, finding something to be thankful for, a lesson learned, a supportive hand, or even personal strength we didn't know we had can bring comfort and joy. This does not mean ignoring pain or struggle, but it means choosing to also recognize the light alongside the darkness. Gratitude acts like a bridge that carries us from despair to hope, from restlessness to peace. In this way, gratitude is not just a practice, but a way of living, a mindset that turns life itself into a gift to be celebrated. By embracing gratitude, we stop waiting for happiness to arrive in the future and realize it is already present in the now. Simplicity is often misunderstood as having less, doing less, or denying ourselves the pleasures of life. But in reality, simplicity is about creating space for what truly matters. In the modern world, people often equate happiness with accumulation. More possessions, more achievements, more activities, and more recognition. Yet this constant pursuit frequently leads to stress, exhaustion, and a sense of emptiness. The more cluttered our lives become, the harder it is to notice the beauty and joy that already surround us. Simplicity, on the other hand, clears away the unnecessary noise, distractions, and excess, allowing us to connect deeply with the essence of life. It is not about deprivation, but about prioritization, choosing meaning over quantity and peace over chaos. Living simply allows happiness to flourish because it brings clarity. When we are surrounded by too many things, too many commitments, too many expectations, we often lose sight of what we truly value. By simplifying, we strip away the superficial and uncover the treasures that were hidden beneath the clutter. A simple meal shared with loved ones can bring more happiness than an extravagant feast enjoyed in isolation. A quiet walk in nature can soothe the soul more than an expensive form of entertainment. Simplicity helps us appreciate these moments because our attention is not scattered, and our hearts are not weighed down by constant desire. It teaches us that true happiness does not depend on how much we have, but on how deeply we experience what is already in front of us. Simplicity also creates freedom. When our lives are built on endless wants, we become prisoners of our own desires, always needing more to feel satisfied. But when we adopt simplicity, we free ourselves from the endless cycle of consumption and comparison. We no longer measure our worth by possessions or status, but by the peace we feel and the relationships we nurture. This freedom opens the door to joy because we stop living for appearances and start living for authenticity. Instead of chasing what others say we need, we begin to align with what our hearts truly seek. Another gift of simplicity is the mental and emotional space it provides. When our surroundings and schedules are less crowded, our minds become calmer, and our emotions find balance. This calmness makes it easier to experience gratitude, presence, and peace, all essential elements of happiness. In simplicity, we also find time to connect with ourselves, to listen to our inner voice, and to cultivate practices that nourish the soul, whether it be meditation, reflection, or simply resting without guilt. Ultimately, simplicity leads us to a kind of happiness that is stable and enduring, not dependent on external circumstances but rooted in inner contentment. It reminds us that happiness is not hidden in complexity or excess, but in the pure and gentle moments that life offers when we slow down, declutter, and choose to live with intention. Through simplicity, happiness ceases to be something distant and instead becomes a natural companion of everyday living. Comparison is one of the greatest thieves of happiness because it shifts our focus from our own journey to the lives of others. In today's world, with constant exposure to social media and endless images of people's successes, appearances, and achievements, it becomes very easy to measure ourselves against what others seem to have. This habit often creates feelings of inadequacy, envy, or frustration, making us blind to the blessings and opportunities already present in our lives. The truth is that comparison is unfair by nature because every individual has a unique path, set of challenges, and timeline. Yet when we compare ourselves to others, we forget this uniqueness and start believing that happiness lies in matching or surpassing someone else's life. This mindset pulls us away from contentment and leaves us chasing an illusion. When we constantly compare, we diminish our own value. Instead of celebrating personal progress, we feel it is never enough because someone else appears to be ahead. A student may achieve excellent grades but feel disheartened because a peer scored slightly higher. An individual may be proud of their home until they see someone else's larger or more stylish one. A person may feel beautiful until they compare themselves with someone who fits society's changing standards of beauty. In each case, happiness is stolen not because of what we lack, but because of where we place our attention. Happiness cannot thrive in an environment where self-worth is always measured against someone else's reflection. Learning to release comparison is a powerful step toward reclaiming joy. This begins with shifting the focus inward, asking what truly matters to us rather than what others display. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, their seasons of success and struggle, and recognizing this brings compassion toward ourselves and others. By focusing on our growth, no matter how small, we begin to see progress as a reason for celebration rather than a reason for competition. We realize that happiness does not come from being better than others, but from being better than who we were yesterday. Practicing gratitude is another antidote to comparison. When we take time to appreciate what we have, the need to measure against others begins to fade. Gratitude redirects our energy from envy to appreciation, reminding us of the abundance in our own lives. Another powerful approach is to admire others without diminishing ourselves. Instead of feeling threatened by another's success, we can allow it to inspire us while still valuing our own journey. This perspective transforms comparison into a source of motivation rather than a source of despair. Ultimately, comparison blinds us to happiness by making us chase standards that are not meant for us. Each life is like a different story, written with different characters, struggles, and lessons. When we stop comparing chapters, we start embracing our unique narrative. In this acceptance, happiness grows naturally because it is no longer tied to someone else's life, but to the authenticity of our own. Living in the present is the essence of joy because it anchors us to the only moment that truly exists now. Yet most people spend their lives caught between the past and the future, carrying regrets, guilt, or pain from yesterday, while worrying, planning, or fearing what tomorrow might bring. This constant mental tug-of-war robs us of the beauty and peace available in the present moment. Happiness slips away because our minds are too busy reliving what cannot be changed or anticipating what has not yet arrived. To truly experience joy, we must learn to dwell fully in the present, to be awake to the life happening before our eyes rather than being distracted by illusions of time. When we embrace the present, we begin to notice simple joys that often go overlooked. The sound of laughter, the taste of food, the warmth of the sun, or the presence of loved ones become richer when our attention is not scattered. The present moment teaches us that happiness is not in grand events, but in the depth with which we experience everyday life. A person who is mindful of the now finds joy in a walk, a conversation, or even in stillness, while someone distracted by the past or future misses these treasures altogether. Living in the present, therefore, transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary ones because it allows us to experience life with full awareness. Being present also brings freedom from unnecessary suffering. The past often holds pain, but replaying it only deepens the wound. The future often holds uncertainty, but worrying about it only magnifies fear. Neither regret nor worry can change what is outside our control, but they can rob us of peace today. When we let go of what is past and release the need to control what has not yet come, we create space for happiness to arise naturally in the now. This does not mean we ignore the past or neglect the future, but it means we learn from yesterday, prepare for tomorrow, and then return to today, which is where life actually unfolds. Living in the present also strengthens relationships. When we give people our undivided attention, listening to them without distraction, we create deeper bonds and more meaningful connections. Joy grows in these moments of presence, where love and understanding flourish. The same applies to our relationship with ourselves. Being present allows us to connect with our thoughts, feelings, and needs without judgment. This self-awareness brings peace and fosters happiness because it aligns us with our authentic selves. The beauty of living in the present is that it requires no external achievement, no future milestone, and no perfect conditions. It is available to everyone here and now. The challenge is not finding the present, but choosing to remain in it. Once we learn to stay present, happiness is no longer something to be chased or waited for. It becomes a state we naturally experience, because joy has always been here, waiting in this very moment. Sharing kindness multiplies happiness, because it creates a cycle where both the giver and the receiver benefit. When we offer kindness, whether through a smile, a gentle word, a helping hand, or even silent support, we plant seeds of joy that grow far beyond the moment. Kindness has a way of touching the heart deeply, often in ways that cannot be measured. It reminds people that they are seen, valued, and cared for, which is one of the most powerful sources of happiness. Interestingly, kindness does not only uplift the receiver, but also the one who gives it, because in the act of helping or comforting, the giver experiences a sense of purpose and fulfillment. This shared joy demonstrates that happiness is not diminished when given away, but instead expands and multiplies. The beauty of kindness lies in its simplicity. It does not require wealth, status, or special circumstances. Small gestures such as holding a door, offering encouragement, or listening without judgment can transform someone's day. These seemingly ordinary acts carry extraordinary power because they touch the core of human connection. At times, a single act of kindness can even change the course of someone's life, offering hope when they feel despair or comfort when they feel alone. The happiness created in such moments cannot be bought or forced. It is authentic, arising naturally from genuine care and compassion. Sharing kindness also strengthens communities and relationships. A society where people prioritize compassion over competition is one where individuals feel safer, supported, and valued. This sense of belonging increases overall happiness because humans are naturally social beings who thrive on connection. When kindness becomes a habit, it weaves invisible threads between people, creating networks of trust and love. The happiness found in this connectedness is far deeper than the fleeting satisfaction of personal gain. It reminds us that we are part of something larger than ourselves, and that by lifting others we rise together. On a personal level, kindness also reduces stress and negativity. Acts of compassion release chemicals in the brain that promote well-being, such as endorphins and oxytocin, which are often referred to as happiness hormones. These not only boost our mood, but also improve our physical health by lowering blood pressure and reducing anxiety. In this way, kindness nurtures both body and mind, creating a sustainable form of happiness that benefits all aspects of life. Even in difficult times, kindness can be a guiding light. When we are kind despite our own struggles, we shift our focus outward and remind ourselves that we have the power to make a positive difference. This perspective fosters resilience because it shows us that happiness is not limited by circumstances, but can be cultivated through choice and action. Sharing kindness proves that happiness is not a solitary pursuit, but a shared experience, one that grows stronger the more it is given away. By spreading kindness, we not only brighten the lives of others, but also create a world where happiness flows in abundance, touching everyone it reaches,